you're not just looking at what level of math they're in or spelling, but you also want to evaluate, like, where are they spiritually and
Mhm.
physically, emotionally and socially, because we're not just doing academics.
Hey everyone, this is Yvette Hampton. Welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. I am so glad that you've joined me again today. I'm back with Nancy Manos, and we are having fun this week. We are talking all about successful homeschooling and some of the things that get in our way. We kind of talked about success and what success looks like in our Christian homeschools. And, it looks different than what the world thinks success looks like. And so if you missed our conversation in the beginning, go back and listen to Monday's episode and yesterday's episode, which was on Wednesday. And we're going to continue kind of down this road of how to successfully homeschool. And I know it looks different for everybody. Not everybody has this. I mean, no one has the same homeschool. It's interesting because it's kind of like a fingerprint. Everybody has a unique fingerprint. Everybody has a unique homeschool as well. I don't think there's a person whose homeschool looks exactly the same as someone else's. We're all using different curriculum. We all have different sized families. We all use different methods. We all have different learning styles. We all have different teaching styles. So there's not one formula that works perfectly for everybody. But some of these things that we're talking about today will help anybody and everybody to be successful, no matter how you teach, no matter how you homeschool, no matter how your kids learn. And again, pointing them back to Jesus. That's it. That's what it's all about. How can we point our kids towards the cross? Ultimately, that is what matters most. And so I want to talk a little bit about goal setting. And we've kind of breezed over this a little bit, but I know, and I think it was the last time we talked, when we talked about The Price is Right. You were on a few weeks ago, and we talked a little bit about goal setting and knowing your why. And we have to kind of know what the end goal is. But I want to dig into that just a little bit more, and how as homeschoolers, we can set goals for our children and for ourselves.
Sure. Well, I think one thing that's really helpful is to determine where your child is right now. So you're not just looking at what level of math they're in or spelling, but you also want to evaluate, like, where are they spiritually and physically, emotionally and socially, because we're not just doing academics. There's physical things, like before they can write, they need fine motor skills. So, there's all those kind of things, but are they, do they need help with how to interact with other people, social things, emotional things? So start by identifying where they are. And then you're going to set measurable, attainable goals. And so talk about it with your spouse, talk about it with your child if they're a little bit older too, and figure out, how to incorporate these objectives. Say you want your child to, I can't even think of an example right now, but, pick a spiritual goal. Maybe it's read through the Bible in a year as a family. Well, then you need to, by having that goal, then you work it into your daily schedule so that you can accomplish that goal. And then you want personal goals and family goals too. And then the reason that you have goals is because you then evaluate every activity, your curriculum, everything that you do gets evaluated against your goals. Does this meet our goals? So maybe a family goal is, we're having dinner together, every weeknight or whatever, or we don't have a lot of extracurricular activities because family time is important. Well, then when an opportunity comes up, you have this personal family goal, and you have to assess as a family, like, okay, are we going to say yes, or are we going to say no? So those can really help you. And then in talking about our final obstacle to success is a lack of organization. So you're right. Organization is one of my very favorite things in my life. And I believe it's a biblical principle. Order promotes peace. So if you have piles everywhere and you are fighting to find what you need, it creates stress. And we can eliminate that. Now, this is not about perfection. Again, it's not about having everything constantly organized. You live in your house, and you have small people living in your house, and you're doing things all day. It's different if you're away at work all day and you come home at dinner time and no one made a mess. So we have to be okay with the messes. But it's about creating an environment where learning can happen, because you're not wading through a mess,
Right.
and you can find your supplies and those kind of things. So I have some tips for organizing your supplies in your day and things like that.
Yeah, bring it.
Okay. So some of the things, now keep in mind, my children graduated in 2010 and 2011. So I did not homeschool when there was Google Drive and things like that. Um, but these are some of the things that I found really helpful that my kids could also participate in. We had a lateral file, and I had a color hanging file folder for each girl, and each subject had a tab, and I made them responsible for filing their paperwork because I would get overwhelmed. You've probably felt this way. If you have a stack of papers waiting to be looked at,
Oh, yes.
like it would kill me emotionally, mentally. And so I needed things organized so that I could deal with them when I was ready and I knew where to find them. And so 3-ring binders, hanging file folders, that any of those kind of things can be really helpful, and have your kids help you. It's good for them to learn skills, but they want to be part of the team. We used a lot of plastic bins and drawers. I'm a big fan of a label maker.
Yeah. And they're just fun.
I know. But having a place for everything and teaching your kids to put things back when they're done, and also teaching yourself to put things back when you're done. If you set it down, you have to pick it up later. So you could just put it back. So we always had a rule in our house: don't put it down, put it back.
Oh, that's a good one.
And my kids would roll their eyes every time I'd say it. But you know what? They learned it. And now, they've, Olivia's a mom of 2, and she appreciates these little pointers. Something that's really helpful with your homeschool supplies is to have a designated place for things. Even if you don't have a designated homeschool room, like have a shelf or a closet or a bin or something in the area where you do school. We always had a policy, is not the right word, but a rule. Basically, we did not let the girls keep their school things in their bedrooms because I felt like I would never find them again. I wanted their rooms to be a place of relaxation. And so if it was put everything done back at the end of the day, then we knew where to find things the next day. And then also, as the mom prepping for the next day, I had to look ahead. Is there a science experiment, a craft project? Do I have all those supplies? Because there is nothing worse than sitting down at the table. We're going to do this project, and you can't find something. You know what? Your kids, keeping their attention, if they're anything like mine, once I lost their attention, it was really hard to get it back. So those are some pointers there, like, your art supplies and your science supplies and your math manipulatives and things. Have a place for them, even if it's a small corner of your dining room on a bookshelf with bins or something.
Right.
Those helpful?
There is beauty in organization. I tell you, I don't know what I would do without having any kind of organization. It's hard. We actually just moved to a new home, and when we got here, I had schools, all of our school supplies, but a lot of it had been boxed up for a long time.
Sure.
And so now I've unboxed it, and I'm like, I don't have anywhere to put this stuff because we kind of have a school area, but it's a den, and there's not a closet in there. So as a matter of fact, just yesterday I told Gary, I said, I really need some kind of a closet. I need something to put this stuff in because it's sitting in boxes right now and it's driving me nuts. Because it's hard. And it actually ends up being a big waste of time throughout your day, because then you spend your time trying to find the things that you're looking for, when if you just knew where they were. I've had times where I've had late library finds, and I know I'm not the only one, but because I can't find a library book, I know we have it. I don't know where it is. It's under the couch, under a bed, in the car. And, but if you have a specific place for that library book to be, then it's not as easy to lose it. So let's take a quick break. We will be right back. Are you looking for a fantastic online math program that removes the burden of teaching math? Then Teaching Textbooks is for you. Our family's been using teaching textbooks for years, and we couldn't be happier. Our girls say that it makes learning math fun, like a game, and they love that it's interactive. Teaching Textbooks uses step-by-step video instruction and does all the grading for you. The newest version is available now with an app that even works offline. Sign up for the first 15 lessons for free at teachingtextbooks.com. That's teachingtextbooks.com. We are back with Nancy, and we were talking before the break about organization and the importance of organizing kind of our school stuff. I know that there are a lot of really great YouTube videos out there. Christy Clover is one that's fantastic. We've had her on the podcast a couple of times before, and she's fantastic at just organization. And so you can go look on her website or on her YouTube channel, and she's got all kinds of great videos on there. And I know there are a lot more that you can find. It can get overwhelming, but Christy's probably one that I would really recommend for watching videos of how to organize if that's what people enjoy. But let's talk about organizing your day, your homeschool day, because this is something that I know a lot of people struggle with. And the beauty of homeschooling that I love, and I appreciate that you said this about your girls, is that they were not early risers. And so you would start your homeschool day later. And I've talked about this on the podcast lots of times. We typically don't start our homeschool day till somewhere between, I would say, typically 11 and 12.
Sure.
That's just how we roll. But my girls go to bed typically at night between 11 and 12, sometimes midnight. And that's just because the job my husband has had for so many years required him to get home late. And that was just the cycle that we got into as a family. So they go to bed really late. They wake up later than most kids. But because we homeschool, we can do that, and it works great for us. And so, I every few months I'll try to think, okay, I really need to get my girls up. We've got to get up early and get going early. And then I try to do that, and it's a disaster because then they're tired and then the whole day just falls apart.
Right.
But there definitely is something to be said about organizing your day. What did that look like for you, and what practical advice can you give to moms who are trying to figure out how to just organize their homeschool day?
Yeah. Well, to piggyback on something you just said, I think people are concerned that if you don't make your kids start early in the morning, then when they grow up and they have a job, they're not going to be able to get up and go to work. Or you didn't make them sit at a desk, you let them lay on the couch. They're not going to be able to sit and work like regular people. Okay, that's totally untrue. Our youngest had a job that started at 6 in the morning, and she, had no problems.
Yeah.
When it was time, when she was grown and had a job, and she got herself there, So they're there in the season that they're in, right?
Right.
And I think it's okay to have things fit your kids' needs and your family's needs. So one of the things that we did was look at what works best for our family. And so you need to do this for years. And you found kind of the rhythm that works for years. Especially in the teen years, I really appreciated that my kids could sleep in, because teenagers need more rest.
Yes.
For us, I found that the best time for kind of our schoolwork was between 9 or 9:30 and lunch. And so, because if I had any like math or history or anything in the afternoon, they weren't as inclined to sit and do their work, and they weren't really as interested. And so we set up our school time for the morning, and I worked hard to protect that. It was rare to do a field trip or take a day, do something else that took place in the morning. Now, if something cool came up, we would do it.
Sure.
But I knew that I needed to protect that. And then we saved art projects and science experiments and read alouds and, piano lessons and all those things for the afternoon. And that just worked for us. There's some people that, maybe you do have to work, and you work in the morning and then you do your schooling in the early afternoon and into the evening. There's nothing wrong too with, say you're behind in like history or science, you could do a history Saturday and do a bunch of lessons, in one day. So figure out what works well for you, but then kind of try to have a routine that your family can depend upon. And your homeschool schedule can vary. Like a lot of people do a 4-day week and they take Fridays off, or, whatever. And then schedule things like doctor appointments and dentist appointments and phone calls you need to make for after school, so you're not also interrupting the day. And I love this Heidi St. John tip is to, plan dinner early in the day.
Yeah.
You don't want to be standing there at 4 o'clock with frozen meat going, what am I going to do?
Like me, pretty much every day of my life.
Use your crock pot. It's a good friend.
Tacos
or Instant
again
Pot
tonight.
Right? Hey, there's nothing wrong with tacos every day. So a few closing, kind of encouragements on, success, tips for successful homeschooling. Remember that God's mercies are new every morning.
Amen.
Thank goodness our children are pretty resilient and they're very forgiving, especially if we have that attitude of, we understand we have caused pain, or we have been crabby or whatever, and we apologize. So cultivate that culture of forgiveness and relationship. But they are pretty good at adapting when things are not going well, and they're pretty forgiving, and I'm grateful for that. But remember that God will meet you in the new day.
Yep.
Don't carry yesterday's grief or regret with you. Just repent and move on.
Yeah.
Look for God in the everyday little mundane moments. So much of homeschooling is just regular, repetitive activities. And sometimes it can feel kind of like rote or mundane. But God is in those daily moments, washing dishes and cooking dinner and doing math. He will meet you there. And I think we need to not feel like every encounter with God is going to be this spectacular mountaintop thing. He meets us in the day, Listen to God, because he will give you the answers that you need. If there is a challenge, if there is a need, he loves you and he loves your kids, and he is a good father, and he wants to bless you and provide for you and meet your needs. So I think listening to him. And then the last thing I will say is decide to enjoy the journey. Enjoy your kids and enjoy your life. It's a season of sacrifice, but it doesn't need to be a season of drudgery. You know what I mean? Like, there can be joy in this season and a lot of fun together.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a great way to tie this up. There is so much joy when we look for it. And so much of it is about perspective. Yeah. How are we seeing our kids through the lens of scripture, through God's eyes, as much as we can? I mean, we're not God, of course, but, how does he see them? And then trying to see them in light of how he made them, how he created them, and ourselves as well, cut ourselves some slack. I know I have a hard time doing that sometimes, but I love that you say, just enjoy the day and finding little moments. The other day, Garrett was home editing, and he has these big speakers in his studio. And so he was playing some song, and he just pumped up the volume, and the girls were like, dance party. And so it was literally the middle of the school day. And so we went into Garrett's office, and the four of us had a dance party, and,
That's
just
awesome.
Little things like that. It's just fun to find ways to rejoice together and break up the monotony of the school day. Go outside and enjoy the sunshine, go for a walk, go do the things that your kids enjoy doing. But yeah, I mean, and I love God's mercies are new every morning. Praise him for that. I mean, it's good to have a new day. Every day. And be grateful that he gave us another day to serve him, another day to speak truth and life into the hearts of our children. So he is a good father. Nancy, thank you so very much for your time this week and for your encouragement. You are an absolute joy and a blessing. And thank you again. I know we talked in the first time we interviewed, I interviewed you a few weeks ago about just the role you have played in serving on the board of the Arizona Christian Homeschool Organization that you were a part of for so long, and with the alliance that serves homeschool families all across the nation. I thank you for your service and sacrifice that you've made for families like myself.
It's important to protect the freedom to homeschool. And I'm so thankful for these state homeschool organizations across the country that do that are at the State House watching laws that might impact homeschool freedom. It's so important that we protect this right.
Yes.
To be able to teach our children at home.
Oh, absolutely. If you guys who are listening, if you missed my interview with Zan Tyler a few weeks ago, please go back and listen to that. It is one of the most important interviews I've done ever in the 2.5+ years we've been doing this podcast. It's so powerful for what's going on today. We have to keep fighting for those freedoms. Freedom isn't free, and it hasn't ever been free. So thank you again, Nancy. You're a blessing.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and we will see you back here on Monday with another fantastic guest. See you then. Bye.